Welcome to the Holding Time podcast, where we share inspiring stories from remarkable mothers who participated in the Holding Time project in Bradford. Each episode, we explore their unique breastfeeding stories, the highs, the lows, the challenges and the triumphs. Whether you're expecting, a new parent, or simply curious, we invite you to hear from these resilient warrior women as they share their experiences. Find out more at holdingtime.org.
I am Ruth Freestone. I am mum to 3. I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter. I have my middle child, Freya, who is 5. And I have Hazel, who is 8.5 months. So we're a busy home life, plus a dog.
Yeah. So how was your build up to breastfeeding? Were you breastfed yourself?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Was I breastfed? I never asked. I never asked my mum very much about that. My breastfeeding influence was really from my best friend who had her eldest maybe 3 years before I had Freya. And so witnessing her journey with breastfeeding and a commitment to trying to breastfeed. And she had a successful breastfeeding journey, and talking a lot to her about that and witnessing that and knowing it was possible. When I did ask my mum about breastfeeding, she was very positive about it, but her experience wasn't positive. She had 4 children and she said she managed 6 months, but it was hard. And she remembers the first time being in hospital with my eldest brother and a midwife passing a comment, another new mum saying, "Oh, this lady," referring to my mum, "this lady will be fine at breastfeeding because she has dark hair," and moved on.
Wow.
I like that wasn't my mum's experience at all.
That's bizarre. I've never heard of that before.
That is bizarre. So I walked into it knowing it can be a very positive experience, but also I just threw myself into trying to learn about it.
And how did you do that?
I think being pregnant was the first time in my life I appreciated my body, and I thought positively of my body and just the phenomenal miracle and powerhouse that, in a day my body grew some eyelids and grew some organs, and you just, wow, without me having to think about that, it just, completely turned my image of myself. And so breastfeeding was like an extension of that. I really hoped I could do it. And I started reading lots and lots and lots about it, but there's no way you can prepare. Like, it's something you've no idea. What does it feel like? What's it going to be? How on earth do I do it? But I read around it. And so I sort of flooded myself with as much information as I could about breastfeeding and how to encourage it and how to look after myself and, I don't know, signs of when things might not be going as well. We did get some bottles in and for the what if, for the, if this doesn't work. But I have to admit, I didn't do a lot of research into formula. It is going to be a backup that if breastfeeding doesn't work, we'll learn on the hop.
Did you do any sort of antenatal preparation?
Yeah, with our first, so Freya, we did, it was almost like a hypnobirthing weekend, intensive as a couple, which was very pro breastfeeding, but it was also about an unmedicated birth and how to tap into your own power and labour and things like that.
And was that helpful in birth?
So having had 2 births, the first with Freya was a very prolonged, slow, aiming for a home birth, which ended in an emergency ambulance and transfer into hospital and an episiotomy and a forceps delivery, which sounds like trauma and horrific, but it didn't feel like that at the time.
That's good.
And it is good.
Maybe because you're just thinking this is going to end soon.
Maybe. I think also the naivety and the ignorance of not having birthed before. My second birth with Hazel was phenomenal. It was so powerful. Like how powerful I had to be to go with the birthing experience. It was I was at home, successful water birth. It was what I hoped for. And that was my second. So having now then reflected on the first one, wow, how did I last that long labouring for 3 days? But I'm grateful it was that way around, because ignorance is bliss, and you just get on. And also with the first one, I continued to feel like I was making choices rather than things happening to me. Yeah. I made a choice. I am done. I am exhausted. I need some help. We headed in. The birth I had with Freya could be some women's. That's my worst nightmare. But because I felt like I was making choices, I didn't feel like it had happened to me. I felt like I'd made a choice to do this.
That's what I mainly hear, is that when you're given options and you make the decisions, you feel differently about it.
Yes.
And I think sometimes what women say is that they weren't told all the options, and then afterwards they find out that there were other options, or that there were other things that they weren't told, and then they feel kind of betrayed. So it is really about who's with you and how they are helping you through this process. 3 days is long enough for labour, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, nobody's going to look forward to that at the Christmas holidays.
At the end of it,
I'll have a 3-day labour, please. So I imagine you were pretty happy that at the end of it, you got through it. What is it that's coming up then in the writing workshops? What part of your breastfeeding, birthing experience are you writing about?
Oh, interesting. What's been coming out is the everyday frustrations and struggles of motherhood. It's not so much the birth and the breastfeeding, even though breastfeeding is absolutely day in, day out part of that juggle. It's the freedom to be brutally honest about how hard this is and how sad I feel at times. And it's allowing me to just park the facade. How do I keep going when I'm got all this stuff in my head about constantly making choices, like the mundane choice of do we eat this, do we eat that, the time management of a busy family, of your own life admin, your guilt of holding on to some idea of perfection and trying every day to let go, but also striving hard to do the best, and what's your best and what's our version compared to all the crunchy mums out there, or all the successful mums out there, or what a success means. So the writing workshops allowed me just to get it all out and in front of me and say, wow, I didn't realise I felt like that. And it's okay to feel like that. So letting go of perfection and realising what expectations I was holding of myself. So,
yeah,
which was brilliant. And in such a safe space, the writing workshop has allowed me to be more conscious of the voice, of the judgy voice in my head, and go, cool, yeah, no, absolutely. We could berate myself for that. Or why don't I give myself a break? Or why don't I find something just as equal that I did well? And also just tick that creative box. It feels like it's just for me.
Let me just ask you about the event on the 15th. Do you think you'll perform your poetry?
Yes, I'd love to. Yeah. I missed the final workshop because Hazel, we had to take her to hospital. She's all fine. But
I saw that, yeah.
I would love to. And I plan on recording the poems I'd like to share just at home when I'm not looking up to you, because I really love the project. I love what's come up. I'd really like to share. So yeah, on the 15th, I hope to share some of the poems, which should be fab, and listen to the other mums share theirs. It's quite amazing listening to the author of spoken words speak those words with the intonation, with their feeling. It's just amazing. I mean, the recordings, I watch them again because they're just fab.
Yeah, I have really noticed
powerful.
a difference between, we did one, so I really wanted to get the poetry to be part of the project. And so I got a videographer involved, and I was thinking we'd do these like vox pop kind of videos of women reading their poems, but it's not nearly as impactful as it is when they stand up in front of each other and read them.
It's just a totally different kind of scenario. So we had him do all these recordings in a library, and that was fine, but most people were just reading off a sheet and looking down. And then we
Yeah.
had this live event, and I just with my wobbly camera grabbed some footage, and that was just so powerful. I'd really like to use some of the lines from the poems as like vinyl lines in the labour ward. So when you walk along the corridor, you see these lines from poems, and then maybe you go to a QR code and you hear the whole poem.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, I really like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm delighted to hear it's Bradford, BRI, because that's where I was working when I was pregnant with Freya. I went back to work there just as the pandemic was hitting, and I was juggling baby, working in the hospital on the front line. We counted PPE in BRI while I
Wow.
was, yeah, while I was leaving Freya for the first time, going back to work. Yeah, so that's really interesting that this, 5 years on, is contributing and is going to be present in that. I didn't have Freya at Bradford, but I worked there and went back to work and figured that out there. So yeah, so that's really cool. That's going to be in the Bradford Hospital. I love that idea of the lines of the poetry, because you take in poetry in so many different. This project has been amazing, watching and listening to the poetry be developed and spoken. But you take it in a different way when it's on a page, or when you read it with your own voice. And what lands with you? Eh?
Oh, it's so true. Yeah, your own voice reading poetry is to you is different to the poet reading or someone else reading it to you.
Yeah, yeah. You dictate where that pause is. You dictate what matters, the intonation, the what does that mean? What does that even mean? What does that mean? Hey, sorry, mate.
Yeah.
I had to talk to Rachel. She had to chase me and chase me and chase me to get me to get me to come along. And I'm so glad, so grateful to her that she did. I did tell her that. The first summer with two little people kind of floored me. So I wasn't responding to emails, and I was doing the minimum admin.
She was only, what, 4 months when you started? She was really young, wasn't she?
Yeah, so February she was born,
Yeah.
and she's only like 8.5 now. So it goes fast. It goes
It
very
does.
fast.
It does. And then you're thinking about going back to work and it all will change again. But it's lovely, isn't it, that you've managed to tie this experience in with this project and it's coincided that you get to be a part of this. And
Oh, I'm so delighted.
yeah, I'd really love this to be available to, all across the country all the time because I don't think it's possible to do it in this way all the time, but some version of this should really be available all the time, I think.
I get a lot from attending women's circles, which I've only really discovered in the last year and a half. But that it's getting women together in a safe space to be honest and open with each other. And this felt very similar. That power, that transformative power to do something just for yourself, being surrounded by other women who can relate and share. It's just, yeah, if that was given postnatally, holy moly, that would be incredible. There's your community, there's your forest, you don't need your baby sensory. You need to be held in a group where you go, this is really, really hard. But yeah, not you. It is hard, but we're doing it together and you're not alone. And yeah, I think that would be pretty awesome. I think we'd see some pretty transformative results if that was like, your 6-week checkup and you go, have you thought about attending that free creative writing workshop once a week with your baby? Oh no, that sounds great. I'll go to that. Yeah, I think that would be a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was good, wasn't it? It was really good.
Yeah, creativity is a great cure for, for helping us process our experience. And that shift to motherhood is a really big one. And it quite often involves a lot of pain, like physical pain and mental anguish. And there isn't really another type of medicine that's as good as creativity for coping with that and turning it into meaning.
That's exactly it. Removing shame, or being able to get some distance from the feeling. I mean, I never thought in fact, I always, having a very creative background, but I drew the line as I am not a writer. I am not a writer. I can't write. Hats off to those that can. And then just signed up to this thinking, well, it's not for anybody apart from me. Let's go along to this. And I'm a great one for a group exercise. And then, yeah, I was like, oh, I love writing. just for me, not for anybody else, just for me. I love writing. So I'll be forever grateful for the project and for being part of it and for Rachel chasing me. Yeah. The shared experiences in those workshops are magic. And that's what I find similar but different in the women's circles. If you find the right tribe and you meet, like I have an amazing one that's all about either prenatal and then the postnatal, following that journey. Those experiences, you then are bonded,
I haven't heard of these women's circles. So what are
I'd be
they?
right up your street. Oh my God, I could put you in touch with
Please.
the three women that run the Bradford one. Actually, it's in Tong, and they are again transformative. It's just creating a safe space. We sit in circle, we share whatever it is. We sometimes have a theme or something to think on, and then we do some free writing. We drink cacao. It's as hippie and as crunchy as you want it to be, but it's also just about sitting in space with each other and saying it's okay. However you get here, whatever you bring, you are held. We are here together, and it's an hour and a half once a month. Oh, and we have a drum at the end, and we sing. So. And the mother's one is a bit wild because they've got all the babies, and the prenatal one.
I have a feeling that one of the women that runs that might have been in touch with me a year or so ago when I was trying to set this up in Bradford. She wanted to come to the writing workshops when we ran them the first time. I've got a feeling that because she was talking to me about this different model, like, because we were comparing, like, singing mamas is quite intense. It's like an hour and a half of singing, amazing, but not everyone can do that. And she was saying, this is a model where it's like you do some relaxation, you do some singing, you do some talking, and it's a bit more broken up. I think that might be, yeah, please do give me the contact details, because it would be nice to like reconnect with her and invite them to our events. And
and you never know what connections you can make and what it might, it's very much about tapping into that creativity or your powerful female energy and supporting each other. And they were very excited when I said I was doing this creative writing course all about breastfeeding journey. They were like, we want to come and see all the stuff. And actually that's a really good platform where I can share some poetry, because it's such a, it resonates so much with the women there.
Yeah. And speaking to your peers is quite important. I mean, the event on the 15th is going to be almost entirely women who took part, and their partners or their mothers or their friends, because there isn't space for really loads of other people. Probably there'll be a few people from the Bradford District Trust just to sort of see what we did. Mostly it's going to be other mothers. I think when you put it out there I do obviously have a YouTube channel, and stuff does go out into the ether, but it's a bit hit and miss whether the right people see it. You're sort of relying on YouTube to find your audience. And
oh, well, this would be a very, very welcome audience, because it's all about motherhood and the transformation and the wild ride it is, but also not losing yourself or refinding yourself, or finding the tribe, finding your tribe.
Yeah.
So I'll share when we have something to share. I'll share it. So I'll share contact details for you to reach out to them, as and when. But also when the project has something to share, I'd like to share it with that circle as well.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, that's always the case, that the materials are always for everyone to share with anyone they want. So
amazing.
So I'm going to go, but it's really been such a pleasure.
I really appreciate your time and your patience. And the project has been amazing and will continue to have an impact on me and my family. So thank you very much for coming up with it and for, creating it.
Yeah, great talking to you, Ruth.
And you. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yeah, take care.
Speak to you soon. Bye, 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 bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holding Time podcast. We're grateful to everyone involved in this project, including our partners and funders, Bradford District Care Trust and Arts Council England and Better Place Bradford, and all the incredible mothers and families who made it all possible. For more information, visit holdingtime.org. The link is in the episode description. Please like, follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and consider sharing this podcast to help raise awareness and support for breastfeeding.